He's not leaving anything to chance because he's saying this region is with him in the alliance. A perceived URP stronghold is where the Prime Minister is pitching camp this weekend. First stop was in Kipkelion in Kericho County, where the Prime Minister, together with other ODM leaders, assured the residents of Rift Valley that a court government was best placed to address the grievances of the area, especially land ownership.
Sisi hatuongei tu ati kusema na kutenda alafu unaenda kukaa chini kwa hema. Uliona ile matendo tumefanya na leo tumekuja tukasema. Yetu ni reverse, tunatenda alafu tunafanya nini? Tunasema
hatutaki kucheza karata na ule atakuwa rais.
Governor ni nini? Chungwa. Senator ni nini? Chungwa. Mjumbe ni nini? Mpaka ward rep na kila mtu, ama sivyo?
Roads Minister Franklin Bett questioned the use of provincial administrations to campaign for Jubilee coalition and warned the head of civil service that he risks disqualifying the Jubilee coalition from the election.
And here we want to say very clearly, the man coordinating is the head of the civil service, Kimemia. And we are telling him, hey, mister, follow the law. Follow the law.
Through the Raila campaign secretariat, the PM's team has also expressed concern over the involvement of government officials in partisan activities, that it would tilt the election in favor of their rivals. Earlier, the Prime Minister, who was touring a coffee factory in Kipkelion, warned the newly appointed ambassadors, saying their recent appointments were unconstitutional.
I want to urge all the ambassadors, wherever they are, to stay put. They should ignore any orders being given by the outgoing government to them and wait until after the elections. And those who have been given papers, don't travel out of this country.
The PM will tomorrow address rallies in Bomet County. Aaron Ocheng, KTN.
All right, let's now move to Malindi, the tourist hub of the country, where Jubilee took their vote-hunting mission today. It has a total of over 56,000 registered voters, and it is considered an ODM stronghold. But that did not deter Jubilee from venturing into the region, hoping to convince the residents that theirs is the winning coalition. It was just a day after getting the all-clear from the High Court, and a re-energized Jubilee team finally hit back at CORD over the land question. Uhuru Kenyatta questioned Raila and James Orengo's commitment to solve the squatters' problem, asking them to outline the steps they took during their time in office as Prime Minister and Lands Minister respectively. Ferdinand Omondi has the details.
A day after the High Court declared he had no jurisdiction to block Uhuru Kenyatta from vying for the presidency, the Jubilee coalition was back on the campaign trail in South Coast and could not hide their relief.
We want to thank God that every barrier has become a bridge and every obstacle has become a stepping stone so that we can have a united nation, a country that all of us can be proud of.
Na tunajua ya kwamba Wakenya wanafahamu ya kutosha kutambua yule ambaye anaweza kutenda na yule ambaye kazi yake ni kuongea, kuchekesha mwananchi na vitendawili, kuchekesha mwananchi na mpira wa mdomo.
The alliance was in the region where the land problem is profound, and this time Uhuru Kenyatta decided it was time to take the bull by its horns. The CORD alliance has been trying to pin him down on his land reform credentials, and Uhuru hit back, questioning what Prime Minister Raila Odinga and Lands Minister James Orengo did during the 5-year tenure in office.
Kunaye siku moja wakiwa na hizo nguvu zote miaka hiyo mitano, wametaja pahali mimi nimeimba shamba au nimenyakua shamba ya mtu. Imekuwa tu wakati wa uchaguzi ukifika ndipo wanataka kutaja maneno ati ya mashamba ndio waingize chuki.
And in a bid to demonstrate action, Uhuru went ahead to claim that he had secured a deal with landowner Evans Kamau Waitiki over the contentious 940 acres of land in Likoni, where thousands of squatters are facing eviction.
Na tukakubaliana na mwenyewe ya kwamba hata vunja hiyo manyumba ya wananchi, akakubali ya kwamba sisi tukiunda serikali tuende tufanye valuation ya shamba yake, tununue hiyo shamba, tuende tugawie wananchi huko, wananchi waweze kukaa.
The difference between our analog friends and our team in Jubilee They are focused on the problem of land and squatters in our country. We have the solution.
And he wound up by asking Raila to prepare for retirement, saying Jubilee would offer him a send-off package to enjoy his old age.
Na hata Sonko amesema ya kwamba hata TV atanunulia ule mzee wetu wa vitendawili. Aangalie Kenya ikiendelea na amani bila shida, na hivyo ndivyo tunataka.
On Sunday, Uhuru and company will wind up their coast tour in Lamu and Mpeketoni. For a long time, the Court Alliance has used the land question to discredit the Jubilee leadership, especially here at the coast. And now it appears the Jubilee Alliance has finally decided they can no longer ignore the elephant in the room and are taking the bull by the horns. Ferdinand Omondi, KTN, Diani, Kwale County.
Elsewhere, the Eagle Coalition spent the better part of the day in Kwale County, hoping to convince the residents to vote for them come March 4th. There are 4 constituencies in this coastal county with a population of about 649,000. The total number of registered voters is about 175,000. Well, this is a region that voted for KANU in 1992 and 1997, shifting to NARC in 2002 and ODM in 2007. Making the 2013 race for the Kwale vote an open one. And as Eagle traversed Kwale, Amani were in Nakuru County trying to woo the 697,000 registered voters, a number that will no doubt be a good addition to any politician seeking any seat in the upcoming general election. In terms of their voting history, Nakuru has not voted for the same party in the last 4 elections. Eric Njoka now reports on Amani and Eagle rallies in the 2 regions.
The day-long campaigns took their Amani team from Sitoito in Kuresoi North to Molo Town and Makongeni in Rongai constituency, culminating in a rally at Mazembe Center in Nakuru Town East constituency. Musalia hit out at political leaders for making inflammatory statements and using derogatory language in campaign rallies that could instigate violence and clashes.
Tuishi kwa utulivu, tuishi kwa amani, na tupige kura kwa amani. Hata wale wenzetu, wale wa mrengo ule mwingine, ikiwa ni CORD ama ikiwa ni Jubilee, wakati wanamaliza mkutano wanasema muende nyumbani kwa na mpige kura kwa.
Hata tuandike manifesto nzuri na njia gani, lazima tuwe na viongozi ambao wanapenda amani na ndani yao wako na amani, wala sio mdomo tu wanasema kwa amani.
Elsewhere, the Eagle Alliance was in Kwale and Mombasa drumming up support for its flag bearer Peter Kenneth, who continued to flaunt his track record as a member of parliament and as an assistant minister. He says it's time to replicate the same in the presidential capacity.
Nikisema nchi imekopa zaidi kwa miaka 4 iliyopita kuliko miaka 46 tangu uhuru. Jamaa hawezi ongea na yuko hapa karibu na mimi. Alikuwa hapa karibu na mimi. Anasema ameleta economic stimulus, but at what cost? At what cost? Wewe utalipa, mtoto wako atalipa, mjukuu wako atalipa, na ukimuuliza iko wapi hawezi kukuonyesha.
His running mate Ronnie Osumba said that it was time for the youth to take charge of the country as the old guards had failed to deliver.
Tukibadilisha msitu lazima tukabadilisha hadi wale nyani walikuwa kule. Kwa sababu wale nyani wametudanganya, wametuzungusha, wametukanganya na hatujaona maendeleo, sivyo?
On the issue of privatization of the Mombasa port, Kenneth said that he was totally opposed to it and said that what was needed at the port was efficiency without corruption.
We do not need to privatize our port. What we need is to create efficiency in our port so that it can compete with any other port in the world.
The assistant minister has promised his supporters that his government would ensure the squatter problem in the region is fully addressed, saying all Kenyans are equal. Eric Njoka, KTN.
Well, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has published the full list of candidates to appear in the March 4th ballot papers amid public furor from those excluded from the list. Gubernatorial aspirants from Siaya and Kakamega have blasted the Electoral Commission for contempt of court after obtaining court orders compelling the electoral managers to include their names in their final list. And as Ktn Miguna reports, there could be more similar cases in other parts of the country.
After clearing candidates for elective positions early this month, the Electoral Agency has published the full list of candidates whose names will appear on the ballot papers in the next 2 weeks. Kenyans will sift through 8 presidential candidates, 237 gubernatorial aspirants, over 2,000 parliamentary seat aspirants and thousands more for the senatorial, women and county representatives aspirants to pick their preferred candidates. But even before the dust settles on the IEBC nomination list, discontent and disgruntled aspirants have emerged, challenging the published list. Mabel Muruli, an independent candidate vying for the Kakamega gubernatorial seat, has protested her omission, which she claims is deliberate. Mabel obtained a court order Thursday compelling IEBC to incorporate her name in the list of contestants for the Kakamega gubernatorial seat, but in vain. This after doubts over her degree credentials were cleared.
When we follow whatever we are asked to do to the letter by IEBC and they refuse to act, where do we go? What happens to us? And if the IEBC refuses to action orders, how can we believe that they will even deliver fair elections?
Mabel claims after serving the electoral managers with a court order demanding for her inclusion, IEBC rejected her plea, saying ballot printing was already underway.
Women have had problems. These issues are arising everywhere. You see them every day. Our counterparts have become bullies. They want to flex their muscles like this, and they think when they flex their muscles, we have to, just drop what we are doing and decide to quit and leave. Unfortunately for me, it is not the case. I'm going to fight to the end. I want to be on that ballot paper.
But the acrimony is not limited only to Kakamega. In Siaya County, TNA gubernatorial aspirant Yusuf Odongo has equally accused IEBC for disrespecting court orders that directed his inclusion in the list of candidates. Only 6 candidates have been cleared and listed for the Siaya gubernatorial race, and Yusuf Odongo appears nowhere. So far, Nyamira County has enlisted the highest number of gubernatorial aspirants, capping it at 16 aspirants. This as Dagoretti North constituency registered an all-time high number of parliamentary aspirants, standing at 19. Already ballot papers have started arriving in the country from the United Kingdom, where Smith and Usman was contracted to print. The first batch of the presidential ballot papers landed last night. Samogina, KTN.
You're watching KTN Saturday Night Live. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's bring you news that's just getting to our studio. That is, there has been an explosion in Garissa town. The explosion has been followed by persistent gunfire over the last half hour. The explosion is reported to have occurred at Locker's club area of the town. No casualties have been reported yet, and we continue to monitor the situation. Of course, we'll bring you details as we get them. Once again, there has been an explosion in Garissa town. That explosion has been followed by persistent gunfire over the last half hour. The explosion is reported to have occurred at Locker's club area of the town. No casualties have been reported as yet, and of course that is a story that we are keeping an eye on for you. We'll get you the details as soon as we get them. Let's focus our attention on the earliest story, that is the nominated candidates list being released. Now we can speak to Yusuf Odongo, TNA gubernatorial aspirant in Siaya. Thank you so much, Yusuf, for speaking to us. How did we get there? What happened to to the list?
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. First of all, I must appreciate that Kenyans are out here to see that justice prevail. I was the Siaya gubernatorial aspirant for the National Alliance Party, but after denied the chance by the returning officer in Siaya, coming up with technicalities, my party, the National Alliance, and my interest as a person, I was given the nomination certificate for the Senate. When I went to present my certificates, again, the returning officer turned me down and didn't give me the Form 16. That was the form that is required for a Senate candidate to have. Now, after all that, I went to the highest hierarchy of IEBC, that is the tribunal. Commission that was formed, and my case was heard on Wednesday. Now, upon the hearing of my case with the Commission, they acted to maintain the status quo, being the referee and at the same time the player, because they disputed my claims on the grounds that I didn't lodge the complaint with the correct senatorial papers. Now, that being the fact they tabled, I was left hanging on the fence and asking myself a lot of questions as to how could I get the Form 16 when they are very much aware through even our petition and through the letter written from my Secretary General of the political party, that is the National Alliance, that I was never given any chance and I was thrown literally out with the police officers. Now, even though the biasness was really envisaged, they went ahead and said that given that I didn't have the right papers for the Senate, then they dismissed my case. Now, I went ahead and lodged my complaint to the High Court, and I appreciate that the High Court and the judiciary we are seeing now is really the judiciary that we've been longing to see. Now, yesterday I got a court order that really talked of all that has been going on to be turned in the opposite. And the High Court ruled on my favor that I should be included as the Siaya Senate candidate for the National Alliance Party.
Odongo, if you can hear me, you went ahead and you got court orders compelling the electoral managers to include your names. So after you brought in the court order, what did IEBC tell you?
Yes, I went with my court order yesterday, and as you can see, I have the court order here, stating categorically about the law. As I am much aware, the highest top organ that should execute the law is none other than the High Court of Kenya. The IEBC is an institution formed by the Constitution. It's an institution that is managed...
Odongo, can you hear me?
Yes.
What exactly did they say about the court order?
They said that the time is bad and that they couldn't receive the court order. To my concerns is that I still believe that the time they were talking of is the time bad for the operations of their work. But I still believe that on Monday, that will be a full working day. I'll still take back my orders, and I assume that they will take the orders because they cannot defy the court order. That will be against the Constitution, and that is against the spirit of me denying my fundamental right as a person and as my party.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Of course, we will try and see if we can get IEBC to give us their side of the story on that and just clear the air. That is a story we will follow up for you tomorrow. Let's focus our attention on some problems as well for Jubilee contenders. And the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has denounced yesterday's decision by the High Court to dismiss the integrity case against Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, saying the two are not just suspects but indictees at the International Criminal Court. Chairman Professor Makau Mutua says the ruling has denied Kenyans the right to elect leaders they want, and the Commission will institute legal proceedings to ensure Kenyatta and Ruto do not hold office, even if the Jubilee coalition wins the presidential election.
As an organization, we've been committed to the fight against impunity, to creating a society in which everyone enjoys the basic freedoms and human rights to which we're all entitled. So the choices that Kenyans make on March the 4th will be historic. In this respect, I just want to say that the Kenyan Human Rights Commission is very disappointed and rejects the ruling of the High Court, which was handed down yesterday, in which first the High Court held that it had no jurisdiction to hear the case and to make a determination on the substantive issues raised by that petition. Logic would have dictated that after the High Court decided that it had no jurisdiction, it would have laid down its tools without making any further pronouncement. But yet the court went ahead to decide substantive issues with respect to that petition.
Right, they say the strength of a family lies in the woman, and today Kenyan women converged on Kenyatta International Conference Center to commit their strength to the nation in prayers as they marked National Women's Prayer Day. Messages of peace before, during and after the election took center stage as a member of the African Union panel of eminent African personalities, Gor Mahia, who was the chief guest, urged Kenyans to speak to their conscience and elect those who will serve them well. Ktn was one of those women in attendance and now reports.
There are just 16 days to go to the general election, and today they came together to show their commitment to a peaceful election as they marked National Women's Prayer Day held at the KICC. Gor Mahia, who is also part of the African Union panel of eminent African personalities that midwifed the peace accord following the 2007 bungled election, was here too as the chief guest and insisted that Kenya must never again slide into the ethnic clashes witnessed during the post-election violence.
You learned the lesson in 2007. You were under shock. You have been traumatized. Definitely, in 2013, you cannot say you do not know how bad it can be. So when we say we are praying for peace, it has been said here, that peace has to begin with me.
African Union Chairperson Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who did not manage to attend the prayers, sent a speech that was read by former Maendeleo ya Wanawake Chairperson Zipporah Kitoni.
A gathering of this nature is important in reminding us individually, collectively, of our respective roles in ensuring that peace prevails during this important national undertaking.
What we expect from that electoral process is a free, fair and democratic election.
IEBC Vice Chair Lilian Mahiri Zaja took the opportunity to do some voter education.
Although IEBC registered Kenyans using the biometric voter registration system, people keep asking how we are going to vote through electronic medium. I just want to remind all of us, na wale kina mama mmetoka mashinani, musikilize ya kwamba kura itapigwa tukitumia karatasi. We are going to use the ballots.
The prayers were organized by a team of eminent Kenya personalities in conjunction with Maendeleo ya Wanawake organization and had the theme Motherhood, the Strength of a Country. Sophia Wanuna, KTN.
You're watching KTN Saturday Night Live. Many thanks for staying with us. Let's run breaking news by you again. There has been an explosion in Garissa town. That explosion has been followed by persistent gunfire over the last half hour. The explosion is reported to have occurred at Locust Club area of that town. No casualties have been reported yet. Of course, that is a story that we are keeping an eye on for you. As long as we get more information, we will let you know. All right, let's now look at the top stories that are coming your way. You're watching KTN Saturday Night Live. Thank you so much for staying with us this far. Now, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education has distanced itself from the teachers' strike scheduled for Monday, calling it ill-timed. The union says its members would not join the Kenya National Union of Teachers in the industrial action scheduled for next week. The threat of a strike has elicited fears of yet another interruption of learning in a year that has already seen students in public schools miss several hours of lessons in the first term alone.
Teachers under the Kenya National Union of Teachers are preparing to down their tools if the government fails to address their grievances by Monday. But the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, it would appear, is reading from a different script. KUPPET has distanced itself from the strike, saying it will not take part in a strike it terms ill-timed.
The country is in election mood, and nobody serious in government is ready and is going to talk to us, because the Minister for Education is fighting for his dear life for senator job in Makueni. The Prime Minister is fighting for his life to become the president. The Finance Minister, you realize, even has a disputed nomination as a TNA candidate in his backyard. So you see, we have a very lean government structure to discuss with us issues of this nature.
Sisi tuko tayari kuwapatia support, lakini tunasema hivi, kama chama tunakuwa na mkutano Nairobi ya National Governing Council tarehe 19 Jumanne saa 4, ambao itatuelekeza kwamba tutachukua msimamo mgani, kama ni kuwapa support ama tuwapi support. Lakini kwa saa hizi tunasema members wetu hawaendi kwa strike.
In 2012, students in public schools across the country lost 3 weeks during the last teachers' strike. This led to a 3-week extension of the 2012 third school term and a corresponding postponement of national examinations. The Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination results would also be pushed forward to be released towards the end of January 2013. In 2013, the first term would also be interrupted by party primaries as various political parties took over classrooms in public schools. The general election expected to have yet another impact on the school calendar, and parents now fear that another teachers' strike means more time spent outside the classroom. However, in a curious twist, teachers in Kiambu appearing to break ranks with KUPPET. The teachers have warned parents whose children are scheduled to take up Form 1 places in coming weeks that they shall find no teachers in the classrooms. The Kenya National Union of Teachers wants the government to effect allowances that had been agreed upon following the last strike. The strike is set to start upon the completion of a 7-day strike notice issued on 11th February 2013. Wilkis Anyabwa, KTN, Saturday Night.
Now, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's advisor Miguna is back with another book that was officially launched today. And just like the previous one, his new book, Kidneys for the King, is controversial and tackles various issues, including the touchy issue of the ICC. And as Patrick Amimo reports, it was not a case of come baby come at today's launch, but the author turned his attention to the current political scene, endorsing Uhuru Kenyatta as President Kibaki's successor, despite saying he was aware the international community would slap sanctions on Kenya should Uhuru win the presidency.
After the release of his controversial book, Peeling Back the Mask, in July last year, Miguna has followed it up with another one which he says was inspired by aggrieved Raila supporters who threatened to kill him.
They have called me and sent me texts saying they are coming for my kidneys. And so the title of the book.
In the book, Miguna explores the question of the ICC, where he writes that perhaps ICC Chief Prosecutor Moreno Ocampo was working at the behest of foreign powers that were only interested in maintaining stability in Kenya and less interested in peace. Miguna says that if he were Uhuru and Ruto, his line of defense would be that they attended the alleged meetings but only on behalf of their principals respectively, and that the principals knew and authorized their activities. Miguna argues that Ocampo's decision to charge Uhuru and Ruto amounted to the crime of complicity.
Between Raila and Ruto, who was more important than the other, even now? So they should go to him. The same thing on the other side. There was a commander-in-chief, the head of state, the head of government, with all instruments of power. What was Uhuru at the time? A mayor MP for Gatundu South and leader of KANU, which had been humbled in 2002. I went to the chief investigator of the ICC, and they told me point blank, we are not interested in any evidence that are not related to the 4 people that we are prosecuting right now.
In the book, Miguna argues that Uhuru and Ruto refused to support Musalia Mudavadi under the Jubilee Alliance because they did not trust Mudavadi would completely shield them from ICC. Based on this assumption, Miguna opines Uhuru and Ruto's spirited campaigns are nothing but an attempt to stay out of jail. In spite of these, Miguna rallied support for an Uhuru presidency.
I'm going to back Uhuru in this campaign because I want Uhuru to give this man a thrashing that he has never received in his life.
In the book, Miguna says should Raila win the presidential vote, he could face both internal and external challenges in handing over Uhuru and Ruto to The Hague.
If I was Uhuru and Ruto, I would not run.
He says Western diplomats have hinted to him the West will likely not support Kenya in case Uhuru wins.
They have told me that there could be trade repercussions. And I say that in the book. They are not saying we will pull out ambassadors and cut diplomatic ties, but they are saying they could, and I believe them.
From peeling back the mask to kidneys for the king, the controversies continue, and only time will tell if Miguna's books will have a bearing on the coming elections. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Well, that will definitely elicit a lot of reactions. Of course, we will keep an eye on that for you. Now, conflict over land and water persists in a remote area of Mutito constituency, Kitui County. Border conflict pitting residents of Kitui and bandits claimed to be from Tana River County has displaced many who are now in hiding in the nearby forests. KTN Samugina caught up with the displaced persons who say they live in constant fear, not knowing when the next attack will occur, while on a tour of Endau in Mutito constituency. Take a look.
Tucked hundreds of miles away from Kitui town, deep inside Mutito constituency lies the troubled land of Endau, stuck between Kitui, Tana River common border. A perennial border conflict here between locals and armed bandits believed to be infiltrating the area from Tana River has left several dead and survivors scared to live in their own land. The flashpoint being ownership of grazing land and shallow wells. Homes are no longer inhabitable for fear of the next attack. Life here is no walk in the park. Residents are armed with poisonous arrows ready to repulse the enemy just in case. But they say the enemy has superior firepower, armed with guns ready to kill.
Hiyo shida tulikuwa nayo ni ya Chebuta kutupuruka huko nyumbani. Wakatupugusa. Tukakimbilia msituni. Hata serikali ikatuambia itatupatia hoteli, hawezi tukaona usaidizi. Tukafikiri sisi tukae huko kwa msitu. Kwa sababu hiyo serikali ikiambiwa enda huko mbele ya watu mkakae huko, wakakataa. Wakakaa huko nyuma. Wakasema watakaa pale palikuwa karibu na shule. Shule ndio kazi nyingine ya serikali na hawezi tukaenda msituni peke yetu. Hata sisi tukasema hawezi tukarudi huko. Hawezi mkaenda huko, hata sisi hawezi tukarudi huko. Kila mara wakikaa, wakaambiwa Wasomali wamekuja bande nyingine ile ya mlima naitwa Engamba. Tulisikia mtu mmoja aliuawa. Haya. Wale wameenda huko, tulisikia watu wengine waliuawa tukarudi tena. Hata saa hii tulikuwa na uoga sana kwa sababu saa hii Ipela haikaliwi. Tulingojea tu mpaka Ipela shikaliwe. Alafu tuangalie kama tumerudi huko nyumbani. Ama hatuwezi tukarudi nyumbani tuende mbele tukatafute mahali pa kukaa. Hata ukiwa ni kicheka tuende tununue. Kwa sababu hawezi mtu akalinganisha maisha yake. Watu ni wengi sana huko kwa msitu. Hata wengine mliwaje huko mbele ya Ndamsa. Hata wengine walienda mpaka huko karibu na Nuhu. Ni wengi sana. Mkienda hapa mliona manyumba mingi imewashwa. Karibu manyumbani 100 na kitu. Na hiyo utafikiri hawa ni kama watu karibu 500 na kitu. Wote wamekaa kwa msitu, mali ingine imeharibika. Hata mimi niliwaje hiyo mali yangu hapa Misiko. Ile nimetoka naye nyumbani saa hii, sio nilikuwa naye. Mingi ni ile nimepotea. Nilikuja kwa sababu hiyo sio nini? Sio nyumba, sio mboma. Hata nilizuilia na penzi, mtu akikuja nikaangalia. Ingine imeibaibwa ni watu kama wametoka mahali wametaka. Nikikuja nikakuta kitu moja ya kuona na sijui ilienda na nani, kwa sababu hii ni msitu na mtu alipitia kila mahali. Hii ni maji hii. Ile umesikia watu wameuawa huko Engamba. Hawa shebu tulikutania na hao hapa kwa ile mboma mliona hapa. Pale pamoja balikuwa na madishi hapa. Tulikutania hapa na ni mmoja nilikuwa hapa. Makatutubia risasi tukaingia kwa msitu na wakatoka hapo wakaenda wakavunja duka langu. Wakachukua misiko yote kabisa. Nikawa pule mpaka sasa nilikuwa mikono mitupu, na hiyo watoto hawezi kitu, sina kitu ya kuwalea naye. Hiyo yote nachukua. Siku hiyo walifuata ile mali yao naitwa Ngamia, na wakakuja hapo kwa hiyo nduka wakachukua misiko yote wakaingisha kwa Ngamia kwa mikongo yote na ikaenda kabisa. Niko na shida mingi sana. Angalia hiyo makuku imekaa huko kwa msitu, na ile inaitwa mwewe watakuja huko usiku. Ile imekulewa ni mingi. Nikikuja hapa nilikuwa na kuku karibu 100. Na saa hii angalia hii imeingia hapa kwa hii nini? Kwa hii mboma yake ni 3. Hiyo ingine yote nakulewa ni mwewe kabisa. Mebigili kisho yangu anahangaika sana. Kwa sababu sijui kesho nitakuwa wapi.
Samogina, KTN.
Story of despair there in Mutito constituency. Let's hope they can get some help soon enough. Elsewhere, a Canadian-owned gold prospecting firm is reported to be in the process of quitting Mozambique to focus its gold exploration activities in Western Kenya, as the discovery of large deposits of gold reserves in Western Kenya continues to attract foreign interests. Investors are keeping an eye on Migori and Kakamega counties. The news has ruffled the feathers of local miners in these areas for years. Without the financial backing to get the deposits deep in the ground, they earn modest amounts of money scratching the surface of areas they say bear great potential. KTN's Wilkis Tanyabwa reports.
Like a mirage, it shimmers from a distance. The promise of gold is enough to lure hundreds to the Rosterman gold mine in Lurambi, Kakamega County. The gold rush has long since passed, but many assemble here daily, hoping to find at least some gold dust. The men line up as if in an assembly line. As one uses a pick to dig deep, 2 others work on what they call the mkokoteni, a hand cut. One man pours water into the metallic pan that holds what the other has dredged up. And as the water runs through the bottom of the pan, it leaves the stones heavy with gold deposits at the bottom or in the sackcloth that covers the hand cut. Others shall collect the stones and grind them to powder. This powder is then put in a metallic pan that is immersed in water. It may seem risky, given the chance that the gold may be washed away, but the miners tell us when the proper procedure is followed, the heavy gold dust always sinks to the bottom, a golden ring of light, the signal that here at last is the gold.
Sasa siku moja, kama nimeamka tu vizuri, nasapata kama shilingi 1500 ama 2000 kwa siku. Ama nipate shilingi 300 ama 100 ama niende tu hiyo siku tu kama hata siwezi pata kitu. Hata nikimiza siku 3 ama 4. Hiyo siku ya 5 nalibisha hiyo siku zingine.
The roaster mine saw its best days start in the 1930s. In 1952, the British company retreated. Locals took over the tunnels, often employing a pulley system to descend into the bowels of the earth to bring up the gold-bearing rocks. The dangers the miners exposed themselves to would be brought to the fore in 2011, when 3 miners met their death at this very mine. The miners reported to have spotted a gold-bearing rock deep in the tunnel when the generator they were using to pump water out of the tunnel suddenly went off. 3 miners would suffocate to death, but more miners would soon arrive to seek their fortune.
Hatuwezi acha sababu tukiacha tutakuibia hata wewe.
Tulichukua kama unaweza kuwa kama kwa safari, alafu anguke na kari, alafu naenda tu hivi. Kwa maana miko kama mko watatu, si mnaendelea tu kupanda kari mkienda. Huyo mmoja amekufa ameenda, alafu nyinyi wapatwa mkipatwa wawili ama watatu mwenye mmepaki. Safari kitokea si mnapanda kari nyingine mwezi okopa.
Experts believe that huge gold deposits and other minerals still remain embedded underneath the rocks in the province, but those who work here lack the financial backing to acquire the requisite equipment, meaning they have to content themselves with scratching the surface. The little gold they get making little difference in the standard of living here.
Hii kazi ndio nimezoea, nafanya hii kazi, hiyo ndio nafanya nini, ndio naishia hiyo kazi.
Tunachikaza sababu iko siku tutapata. Tuko na matarajio tutapata. Si ati hakuna iko, lakini ile mbinu ya kufika mpale chini tuifikie ndio inatusumbua.
1 gram of gold sells at between 3,000 and 3,500 shillings in the local market, money that is divided equally among the men who work here. The grains of gold left in the pan shall be heated to turn it into the precious metal. Tomorrow there may be nothing, but tonight there shall be money in these miners' pockets and food on their tables, and until they strike it rich, that is enough.
The days are long, the work is hard, and often the workers go home with nothing to show for their hard work, but they dream of the day when they will find enough gold to make it all worthwhile. Wilkison Abwa, Ktn in Rostamine, Kakamega County.
You're indeed watching KTN Saturday Night Live. We're taking a short break, but when we come back, Sadiq Shaban will have the day's sports news.
Welcome to Saturday Night Sports here in KTN. My name is Sadiq Shaban. Just a couple of breaking news coming in, but first, let's look at what's making headlines locally. 2013, Iraq half marathon winner Geoffrey Kipsang was rewarded for his hard work in the United Arab Emirates with the World Cup to represent Kenya in the upcoming edition of the World Cross Country Championships in Poland. 24 runners will represent Kenya in Poland from next month.
As early as 6 a.m., athletes had converged at the Uhuru Gardens to book the few available tickets to the World Cross Country Championships in Bydgoszcz, Poland. The men's start saw athletes try to outwit each other, with the usual culprits Philemon Kiprono, Geoffrey Kirui, Japan-based Bidan Karoki, Timothy Kipto and Caleb Mongangi staying in the leading pack for close to 10 kilometers. However, on the final round, tables were turned on the final stretch as newcomers into the cross-country arena stole the show. Marakwet-born Philemon Rono emerged victorious in a time of 35 minutes, 21.5 seconds ahead of African 5,000 meters bronze medalist Timothy Kipto and Geoffrey Kirui. Three-time world cross-country champion Hosea Macharinyang Mwok, for the 8th year running, made the cut into the national team after finishing in 4th position.
Yeah, in Kenya, there is tough Kenyans, because when you see everybody is in shape, so when you come in the top 3, it's good.
That is the start. The senior women's race got off to a moderate pace, with the police and defense forces teams staying ahead of the pack. Just as their male counterparts, the race did not miss surprises where big names did not make the cut. Mary Wangari caused the tape ahead of Arin Chemutai and Janet Kisa of the police team.
This year I knew that my last kick I have to start earlier, because if I start near the finishing line, those people who have a sharp sprinting will catch up with me.
Ya leo haikuwa mbaya, ilikuwa mzuri sana. Ni vile tu the last lap nilikuwa nyakwa kwa na huko, so.
In the junior women's race, double world champion Faith Chepngetich was the victor ahead of Agnes Chebet, while Ronald Kwemboy won the men's category ahead of Leonard Barrowstone. This year's senior men's trials will go down memory lane as one of the most competitive, which also saw some of the star athletes fail to make the cut to the national team that will represent the country at the World Cross Country Games in Bydgoszcz, Poland. Victor Ogale, KTN Uhuru Gardens, Nairobi.
Enough, as long as I can remember, the gentleman with the white turban you saw on that picture there, and another one by the name Kibunja, have been trying to get a place in the national team. I can remember from as back as 1988, and they are still trying. So probably one of these fun days, luck will smile their way. Elsewhere, Gor Mahia was unable to make use of their lion's share of ball possession in their CAF Confederations Cup tie against Anzi Reunion of Seychelles, as they were held to a barren draw by the visitors. Tusker elsewhere thumped Seychelles League champion St. Michel 4-1 away in Seychelles.
Gor Mahia coach Zdravko Garissa cut a figure of a dejected man after his charges were unable to unlock Anzi Reunion's defense despite the many chances that came their way. Gor Mahia began the better side, controlling the midfield with Anthony Akumu and Moses Odhiambo having a field day. However, Paul Kiongera's feeble shots could not trouble Ricky Ross in goal. Moses Odhiambo and Roma Salim continued to be wasteful up front as both teams looked to open the scoring accounts. Danny Serunkuma could easily have won it for the Green Army early on, but just could not find the back of the net. Huso Cisse was the most visible of the visitors as he almost found the back of the net. The second half was a carbon copy of the first half for Gor Mahia, as Logarusic's boys lacked the cutting edge to finish off the match. Gor Mahia resorted to long-range shots as the clock continued to wind down for the hosts. Anthony Akumu saw red after fouling Huso Cisse as the danger man had his eyes on Jeremy Onyango's goal. Fans could not bear it anymore, and some began leaving the stadium with a couple of minutes to go. After the 90 minutes, it was all square and all to play for in the return leg away in Seychelles. A humble Logarusic now blames poor preparations and the delayed beginning of the Kenya Premier League as the reason the team could not find the back of the net.
Kenya Football Federation or KPL, now we are talking about something we shouldn't talk. Let them think how to improve Kenyan football, how to represent Kenya, how Kenyan clubs should represent in continental games. Maybe if you want to go prepare in continental, maybe league should start earlier, but we are not looking for excuses.
The visitors have warned Gor Mahia of a tough second leg assignment away.
Normally when we play home, normally we must put goal. It's in your country, a lot of supporters there, you should have scored goal.
Gor Mahia had targeted a second round berth in the Confederations Cup, but with the forwards fluffing their chances, they have under 2 weeks to find their shooting boots. Kenya Premier League champions Tusker thumped St. Michel 4-1 away and have one leg into the next round of the Africa Club Championships. Reporting for Ktn Weekend Prime Sports, I'm Hassan Juma.
After a disappointing year in which there was no professional boxing in Kenya, Kenyan boxers are now trooping out to Europe to seek greener pastures. Fatma Zarika and Michael Nyawade will be flying out to Belgium next week for professional boxing bouts that have been lined up, for professional boxing bouts set to take place in Belgium next week. Going through the paces, punches and hits with her coach and trainer Julius Odhiambo, Fatuma Njeri Kenneth Zarika looks somewhat relaxed, concealing the magnitude of the fight coming up in less than a week away in Belgium. The 27-year-old Fatuma boasts of 30 professional bouts, 23 wins, 14 of which were by knockout. She has lost only 6 fights and has drawn 1 and faces Delphine Persson of Belgium for the 9-title superweight title bout.
Hakuna mchezo hapa Kenya, hakuna sponsor, hakuna nini. So unajua sasa tukiweza kupata game nje ni lazima tuende juu, hiyo ndio kazi yenye ambapo tuko nayo sasa hizi.
Her opponent has 23 bouts under her belts and has won 22 of them by knockout and has only lost 1 fight. But Fatuma Zarika is unfazed by this lethal tale of tape.
Sijui chochote kumuhusu, lakini najua mimi niko fit na hivyo ni vizuri juu tujuani, anijui na mimi simjui.
Another Kenyan, Michael Nyawade, will also compete in the same invitational tournament in Belgium and will fight for the vacant Global Boxing Union super featherweight title against Tunisian Hedi Selimani.
Hii mkono ni kama risasi. Ikipata target, mimi najua utaenda. Na naomba Mwenyezi Mungu nipate target. Hiyo tu ndio maombi yangu. But siwezi underrate my opponent. But ile nguvu ninayo, through coach na training, najua nikipata target ni sawa na risasi.
More Kenyan boxers are expected to travel to Belgium in the coming months to earn a living as the professional boxing continues to disappoint in Kenya. And they are promising to pull all punches and stop at nothing to win. Two teams that have never won the Kenya Cup, Strathmore Leos and Menengai Oil Nakuru RFC, will contest the Kenya Cup final slated for Saturday at the Moi International Sports Centre, Kasarani, next week. Playing at Nairobi's Impala Club, the Strathmore Leos and Mwamba RFC were tied 10-0 at the interval, but Leos, who only earned promotion to the Kenya Cup in 2008, prevailed 18-15 at the full time. Lavina Sego put Mwamba ahead with a drop goal, but Billy Odhiambo's try and Jeff Githaiga's conversion saw Strathmore take a 7-3 lead. Marvin Sumba added a penalty, putting the Leos 10-3 up before Joseph Oriwo's try and Jen Tenui's conversion leveled the scores at 10-0 going into the half-time. Strathmore Leos sealed it in the second half through an Adrian Opondo try and Jeff Githaiga's penalty. Elsewhere, Nakuru raced to a 21 nil lead after 30 minutes against KCB. John Okongo, Edwin Makori and Geoffrey Mbea all scored tries for Nakuru, with Martin Mwita converting. They would concede a late first half try by Max Adaka, with Darwin Mukidze converting, cutting their lead 21-7 at the break, a lead that they held to the end. Well, let me just bring you up to speed with the latest from the current golf and the country club in as far as the Kenya Open is concerned. And Nyanza clubs David Odhiambo and US-based Greg Snow are now the best placed Kenyans at the close of day 3 at the Barclays Kenya Open. They are now joined 20th on 2 under par 211. Odhiambo today posted a par 71, adding to his 71 and 69 on the opening 2 days. Other Kenyans, Kopan Timbe, Njuguna Ngige and Brian Njuguna stay in the tournament, but they are way behind the leaders. Now, motorsport enthusiasts will troop tomorrow to the plains of Athi River for the first edition of the Athi 4x4 Challenge, set to be held at the Swara Plains Conservancy off Mombasa Road. With the cancellation of the second round of the Kenya National Rally Championship, leading rally drivers, led by the national champion Carl Tundo and Ian Duncan, will showcase their skills in precision driving and skillful driving tomorrow. The event, according to the head of the organizing committee, Grant Cullen, promises to be a real treat for all 4x4 lovers, as the competition is designed with spectator in mind. Over 40 cars are expected to sample the mud and the quarry section. Formerly known as a quattro charge, the event has been divided into 3 categories. But you see drivers tackling difficult sections all day long. Well, it's pure agony tonight for Arsenal fans after they were dumped out of the FA Cup by Blackburn Rovers 1-0. The match ended just a while ago, and this means that Arsene Wenger and his boys have only now the Champions League to play for this year, after having been knocked out of the Capital One Cup by League 2 side Bradford in December. Very good news indeed for the team that Linda supports.
Manchester till I die. Well, this has been KTN Saturday Night Live. Many thanks for watching. Sleep well. I'm Linda Ogutu.
My name is Sadiq Shaban. Good night.